Hello! It's hard to say something about Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven that hasn't already been said. In this video, I'll try to focus on the idea of the confirmation bias, together with the thoughts of two philosophers whose ideas further explain to us the poet's state of mind. First, I'll start with a recitation of the poem. So if you're not interested in listening to a recitation, you can skip this part. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume, I forgot to lore. While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at me chamber door. "It is some visitor," I muttered, "tapping at me chamber door, only this and nothing more." Distinctly I remember, it was in a bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow for my books surcease of sorrow. Sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now to still the beating of my heart I stood repeating, "It is some visitor entreating entrance at me chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at me chamber door, this it is and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "oh madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you here. I opened wide the door, darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, Lenore. This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word Lenore. Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. It is the wind, and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped to stay he, but with mien of lord or lady, perched above me chamber door, perched upon a bust of palace just above me chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. "Thou thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou I said art show no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on a night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marvelled, this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird a beast upon a sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven, still lonely on a placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word it did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Oh, the friends have flown before. On a morrow he will leave me, as me hopes have flown before." Then a bird said, "Nevermore." Startled at the stillness broken by a reply so aptly spoken, "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is its only stock and store, cut from some unhappy master whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his sons one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of nevermore." But the raven, still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking, what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking, "Nevermore." This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the fowler's fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with me head at ease reclining, and the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated over, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating over she shall press. Ah, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff, this kind nepenthe, and forget this Lenore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thin of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, whether tempest sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly I implore, he is there, Balm Gilead, tell me I implore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thin of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within a distant Eden it shall clasp a sainted maiden of the angel's name, Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden of the angel's name, Lenore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word a sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked up starting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore, leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door, take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of palace just above me chamber door. In his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight over him streaming throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul, from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor, shall be lifted nevermore. The poem captures an exceptional moment in the poet's life. There is this woman he loves, she died, and to deal with this grief, like most people do, he believes that she has been a wonderful person and that she's now in a better place. This is what he believes and what he daily wants to believe. But deep down, he has some pent-up, profoundly buried suspicions that Lenore was not a wonderful person, and that she certainly is not in a better place, especially a place like paradise. But the poet has really sealed those suspicions until the very night he falters. It would take as simple a thing as a raven croaking nevermore to send the poet in a binge-interpretive frenzy that frantically confirms every suspicion he has, and which he has buried so deeply. The main catalyst behind the eruption of the whole poem is, I believe, the spatio-temporal context, even prior to the appearance of the raven itself. It is nighttime. The poet's mind isn't set on anything. This gives way to boredom. The idea of boredom is focal in what it's like to be a human. Animals don't get bored. The human species is the only one that gets bored. Boredom is such a perplexing phenomenon for which many philosophers offer diametrically opposed explanations. For Heidegger, for example, it is a powerful impetus that generates action. Now imagine there was no boredom and our ancestors got out of their caves and learned how to light fire. This would improve their quality of life tremendously. Now they can cook their food, they could fight off the cold and do many things. That's really good. Without boredom, they would have stayed there in this much improved situation. But boredom made them do more, discover other things, learn other things about the mechanics of the world they live in. Here's an experiment you can conduct. Let's say you have homework or some projects you need to work on. Sit still. Hold a turned off tablet or laptop or a pen or whatever you use to work and don't do anything. It's important that you do not do anything and you let your boredom do its magic. It will drive you towards starting to work. Boredom is the driving engine behind work and innovation. A completely different take on boredom is found in Kierkegaard's Either Or. In his cocky, extremely hilarious style, Kierkegaard accuses boredom of being the source of all evil. Take a look at this wonderfully written bit. Adam was bored alone. Then Adam and Eve were bored en famille. After that, the population of the world increased and the nations were bored en masse. To amuse themselves, they hit upon the notion of building a tower so high that it would reach the sky. This notion is just as boring as the tower was high and is terrible demonstration of how boredom had gained the upper hand. Whether boredom is the engine of progress or the root of all evil, it is what throws the poet in this over-interpretation of the croaking of a raven. Every croak is interpreted as a supernatural confirmation of the poet's buried suspicions. Most of those suspicions are about the unholiness of Lenore, but not exclusively. When the poet first sees the raven, he says, "On the morrow you shall leave me, as my hopes have flown before." This is a confirmation of one of the poet's convictions about the life of the human. It starts off full of hope, dreams and goals, but on the morrow, as time passes, all these vanish and disappear. The poet enters a fight to keep his suspicions about Lenore suppressed. He attacks the raven, commands it to leave, but not a single duel with the raven does he win. He ends up conceding that the raven does know more, does know better. And this realization leaves a destroyed man, a downed man who shall be lifted nevermore. Now this video has reached its end. Until we meet again, have a great day.